What is up, YouTube? Troll King here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to Drawface. And in today's video, we're going over a version 2.0 of Master Yi. That's right, I've decided to main as Master Yi when the game comes out, and I've been having some games with him on TTS that have been very successful. I believe last night on stream I played 4 or 5 games and I didn't lose any of them. So yeah, it's just a really consistent, very good deck, and just really competitive against the meta that is out right now in terms of decks like Kaisa, Set, Yasuo, some Lux decks, and Teemos. The point is you just hold the battlefield as long as possible, gain those points, and do some tricks with like entering Master Yi into your base, which enters ready, and then flying all around, readying stuff with first mate, and scoring points for the win. But before we get into the deck list, if you haven't already, please subscribe. You automatically enter yourself to win a Proving Grounds box set. So, you click a button and you might win something. That's obviously when the game comes out in October. So, with that being said, we're going to go straight into the deck list. I got Piltover Archive ready here. So obviously, we are all familiar with Master Yi, Uju Bladesman. While a friendly unit defends alone, it gets +2. That is incredibly strong if you're running a lot of small units early game. You get ahead on points really, really fast, and from there, your opponent is playing catch up. Incredibly strong legend ability, very, very good. You don't need to tap anything, you need to waste any runes. It is a static ability. So it is just like incredibly strong with the way the deck is built. We are running 5 Calm runes. We are running 7 Body runes. Now, the important part to notice is that our energy curve, our commitment to powers is extremely low in terms of comparing it to other decks. And that is very, very important because we want as many runes as possible for mid to late game where we pop off with our stronger cards. Going into the battlefields, we are running Grove of the God Willow. When you hold here, draw 1. That is awesome. So, if we're getting on battlefields really early because we have low-cost units, we get to draw for a turn, and we get to draw for our hold here and score a point. So 2 cards and a point, really, really good. We're also running the Dreaming Tree. The first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here, each turn, draw 1. So it does happen once per turn, right? However, we are holding a lot, and then we do have some battle tricks, if not a lot of battle tricks, that are the backbone of the deck. So we will be consistently pumping them up to defend, and we'll be drawing as well, digging deep into our deck, looking for answers to counter what they're doing. Really, really great battlefield for Master Yi. And along with is Obelisk of Power. That extra rune early game that we get to channel is very, very critical because we can already start doing some shenanigans in terms of playing an unguard with something on the battlefield. And it is giving 2 might to something, usually stops them from conquering on the showdown. The one champion unit we are running is Master Yi Honed, not the other version. I found it because of the resource management, right? The fact that it needs 8 runes to get that extra +4. You have to be very, very cautious about what you're spending when you're spending it. However, this one is just really fast in terms it enters ready and it can gank. So for like a 2-turn, like a 2-card combo that can score 2 points and take out whatever's on the battlefields in Master Yi and Pit Rookie. So you play Master Yi, it goes to a battlefield, conquers it, right? You ready it with first mate, right? And it pops over to the other battlefield. That is incredibly strong and incredibly aggressive, and kind of shuts down your opponent from building onto the battlefields. We are running Defies. We're not running Wind Walls because, again, of the resource management. I said before, I don't want to commit into wasting too many powers. Defies usually does the job because we don't want to get too late in the game where they're casting things that would need in the situation a wind wall. This stops them from playing things like Smoke Screen, stops them playing things like other buffs in On Guard or Disciplines, Meditations if they're drawing any type of control deck as well, Stupefies, Siphon Powers it stops. So it's a really good card just to stop them from gaining tempo early game. Then we are running 3 Avant-Gardes, like I've mentioned before. It is only 1 rune, and it gives something +2. 100% of the time, you're going to be alone on a battlefield. never commit into running 2 units onto the battlefield unless they're two really, really big, beefy dudes and you just need that holding point. But most of the time, you're just going to have 1 unit because you really want to benefit from the Legend's ability. It only does it when you only get the +2 when you are defending alone. So you're more than likely at reaction speed going to be giving something to Might. We are also running a Charm. So for 1 energy and 1 power, move an enemy friendly unit. Sometimes there's going to be situations where they're going to start building stuff on their base, and you don't want them to snowball into something uh, that's going to take your units out, right? So you want to kind of control their side of the field by moving things onto the battlefields that you've been holding. Now, what that initiates is also a showdown, and it dictates that you are the defender and they are the attacker. So we get that bonus from Master Yi's Legend ability, which is incredibly, incredibly important. So great card, very, very, very tricky card, and it is to be expected. A lot of people are running Charm now because they've realized how good it is. However, it's just there's not much like people can do against it when it comes to like when you're defending with Master Yi's Legend ability and any type of cheap units or big units that you have in the game. Pit Rookie, we're running 3 of. When you buff me, or first of all, 2 energy and 2 might. When you play me, buff another friendly unit. So yeah, getting that extra point onto units that are on battlefields or on your base, really good. Sometimes it's just completely okay to play it first turn. Sometimes you just don't need to buff something. Sometimes you just want to get on board. And then when it goes to a battlefield with Master Yi's Legend ability, it is a 4 might unit plus some battle tricks, and can get up to 6. Just, a great card, great early game. Sometimes in the mid game, you can flood your base with a bunch of cheap units because we've really managed our resources and then kind of can go from there with a game plan of what to buff and what to not. Also, the star of the deck is oddly the Stalwart Poro. So it is the Shield Poro. It is a 2 for 2. 2 energy and 2 might, and when it defends, it gets its +1. So let's just do the math real quick. Early game, this thing is a beast because when it's on a battlefield, it's obviously defending for 3. With Master Yi, it goes up to a 5. With cards like Discipline, it can go up to a 7, which your opponent's turn 3, even turn 4, 7 might is so hard to get over unless they're doing some wasting resources and playing some spells like Hextech Ray or even Falling Star, or it's just like any type of removal that they need to do. Is worth it because they're wasting resources to take out a tiny little 2 might Poro. So yeah, I love the Poro cards. I think they're all really good. There's some like the Vision Poro that are okay. Maybe in the future that they'll see more play, but the Poro cards seem to be oddly enough like really, really, really impactful in the game so far. Speaking of our battle tricks, we're running Discipline for only 2 runes, no power cost whatsoever. It's just a clean 2 runes, very fair. At reaction speed, also very important. Give a unit +2 this turn, and then you get to draw 1. Really, really good, because if you are targeting a unit, let's just say a Poro, onto the Dreaming Tree, not only does Discipline trigger, you draw 1, you are targeting a unit on the battlefield, so you get to draw 1, and then you're also obviously drawing for your turn. So 3 cards in 1 turn for 2 runes, right? If something is on a battlefield, is ridiculous, is insane. Well, I guess it would be drawing 2 cards because the one you always draw for your upkeep or your beginning phase. So yeah, that's just really good. We are running, speaking of more draw, Clockwork Keeper, again, it's just one of those early game cards, without any power, 2 energy, 2 runes and 2 might. As you play me, you may pay a power as an additional cost if you do draw 1. So early game, you don't want to commit into drawing a card unless your hand is absolutely dead, right? But this is like an answer for that. Late game, and you have all those runes, then by all means, start drawing cards and looking for answers if you are a little bit behind. This deck doesn't necessarily go that often into the late game. Like, it usually wins by like mid game. But if you're in a situation where they just kept on removing some of your units with some heavy spells, and then you just want to dig deep, then by all means spend that power, find the answers that you need to win the game. Also, a very annoying card for your opponent is Zonia's Hourglass. This card is awesome. It is also a very clean 2 energy cost. Um, very cheap for what it does, and you can also hide it for a power. Um, the next time a friendly unit would die, kill this instead, recall that unit exhausted. Send it into your base. This is not a move. Very important. Yeah, it's just a good card. You know, granted, our things are very cheap in the fact in 2 runes, but then we are just trading 1 for 1 in terms of energy, right? But sometimes we have bigger units like a Snapvine or Kianya, and like I said, you know, these things are like or White Flame Protector. You know, these things are like power heavy, and the fact that you can just bring them back if you're timing it properly. Or you can also hide it, you know, or just play onto the battlefield, and then it's just really, really good because then you're only literally playing 2 for something that would usually cost 10, 8 in the power, which is insane. And it just keeps your pressure on the board, right? It just keeps pressure on your opponent. And they're going to have to double up on their amount of resources spent to remove your units in spells either that they're playing or units that they're sending to the battlefields. A really great defender we're running is Sunlit Guardian. Again, very clean 3 runes for 3 might. It is a shield and it is a tank. So it goes up to 4 with Master Yi's ability. It goes up to 6 with some battle tricks. It goes up to 8, only for 3 cost. The fact that it's a tank doesn't really matter unless like those situations where you kind of need to take a battlefield, maybe send a couple more units. So it does mitigate some damage. But you know the 3 for 3 and then the shield is just like an upgraded version of the Poro, right? So it's basically, you know, just one of everything more. So yeah, great card. Another cool combo card in the deck is First Mate. Again, very clean, 3 energy, 3 might. When you play me, ready another friendly unit. There are so many ways that you can actually win with this card in terms of either double conquering or a hold and a conquer, because the fact that it just readies things is just insane. You know, you can Zonia's Hourglass, right? If something gets killed, it comes back, right? On your opponent's reaction, right? They kill a unit of yours, it comes back. You play a First Mate, and it readies it, and then you can just, you know, conquer again and move into the battlefield again. You'll see that in the gameplay that actually does happen, and in that situation, I do win the game. We are running Primal Strength. Now, an interesting card that I never thought I would put into the deck. However, messing around with it, I found it to be very, very good. 4 energy and 1 power for at action speed, giving something +7 could work offensively or defensively. Let me explain that. So, for instance, obviously, if your opponent has a unit on a battlefield with more might, this kind of just it should give your units more power or more might, right? However, in an instance where you move into the battlefield and your opponent asks you any actions, and you're like, sure, let me commit to a Primal Strength, because if they are using any type of damage spells, this puts them out of reach for killing that unit. So it signifies that you're definitely going to hold. So yeah, but the fact that you can use this card offensively and defensively, really cool card, really strong. Obviously, you want to play it mid game. You know, you don't want to play it right away. Most of the time, you've already been holding, but just in case those situations where they've kind of removed some of your cards, and you want to move in with like a little bit of like security cushion, and the fact that, you know, your opponents aren't going to die to a singularity or something like that, then very, very, very good. One of the best cards in the deck is Kiana Victorious. The deflect is incredibly relevant these days, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that in a second. So we're running 4. It is 4 energy, 1 power for 4 might. It does have deflect, which means that your opponent has to pay an extra power in order to target it with a spell. And when I conquer, draw 1 or channel 1 rune exhausted. That ability alone is worth it. The fact that it needs to get it has deflect is also very good. So your opponent will end up spending a lot of resources just to get rid of it. For instance, if it is targeting it with like a falling star, right? Or a Hextech Ray, right, in order to shrink its, or even a smoke screen, right, to bring it down to 1. You can defy that card that is targeting Kiana, but they still have to pay that extra power, right? And then if they use something else, they've already committed just to get rid of it. They've committed already 2 powers plus the spell's cost in their powers just to get rid of it. So Deflect is really strong. It's very annoying for control decks to get rid of, so that is why it's in the deck. Also, it synergizes well with Sonya's Hourglass because the fact that it just comes back and they're like, oh, great, now I have to spend like more power on trying to trying to kill it. Yeah, it's just really annoying for your opponent to try and get rid of. We are also running Carnivorous Snapvine, 5 energy, 2 power for 6 might. When you play me, choose an enemy unit at a battlefield. We deal damage equal to our mights to each other. So obviously, it has to be on the battlefield, but that's fine. It's just a strong card. It's a great removal. Sometimes you want to trade 1 for 1. It goes against Harness Dragon very well. You can also, as a reaction, because you are playing it, you can buff it, and then it'll commit more damage, and then save the Carnivorous Snapvine if it is targeting a 6 might unit. So that is a cool little combo that you can do to ensure that it survives and killing your opponent's unit. And then lastly, we're running 3 of White Flame Protector. Now, I know you're like, well, why is this card in the deck? You said it's supposed to be like really fast and snowball. This is a game-winning card for this deck. 8 energy, 2 power, 8 might. When you play me, give a unit +8 this turn. Insane. You develop an 8-unit body, right? And then you're giving something +8. It's just really good. If somehow they've conquered the battlefields and you're playing from behind, this card swings the game 100% of the time. There are cards, obviously, that can, stop your unit that you've buffed +8. By some spells and stuff, but the fact that they're also committing resources and just killing like a small dude, let's just say, like even a Poro is like a 10, right? And you're swinging it with a 10, and then they still have to worry about the White Flame Protector. Like, it's just a good card. It actually wins me the game in the gameplay that you'll see. So it's just really cool. But yeah, that is it. I did not commit a sideboard yet, however. That is one note to be said. Mainly because the meta is still very volatile, right? Like, there have been some, like, focused main decks, like in Set, I think was like 2-3 weeks ago, everyone was playing Set. Now everybody's playing Kaisa. So based off the meta, I kind of want to wait for the sideboard. We do get 8 sideboard cards, so I will be posting that information later, or I'll just do another deck list. But other than that, try it out. Obviously, you can export here on TTS and try the deck out. It is just really good and really fun, honestly. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. The gameplay is coming up. I did do it a little differently. I did decide to do some commentating because there are just moments like when you're playing on TTS, there's just like long moments of silence. So I'm not the best commentator in the world. However, I think I did a good job. I will be getting better at it. But other than that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I greatly appreciate support. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit me up on Tabletop Simulator. My Discord will be on the description if you want to play some games. Other than that, enjoy the gameplay, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace. Alrighty, guys. So we're going to do a little bit of commentating this time. Yeah. So I got my Master Yi deck, and I'm playing against Lux Control. The battlefields are the Dreaming Tree and Obelisk of Power. One thing to really take notice in when it comes to mulliganing your Master Yi deck is that you really, always try and go first. You have a lot of 2-cost units, so really try and dig deep. Mulligan too if you need to, like right here I just I get rid of a Primal Strength and a Snapvine just to make sure that I have enough units on board to be double conquering and double holding. Even if your Pit Rookie, obviously you want to drop down a little later essentially to get that to get the buff on another unit, but sometimes just play it as soon as possible. You're really banking on that Master Yi is going to protect this unit relatively well. So yeah, see, like I just said, I just played my Pit Rookie, and then I just needed to be on board because once you hold a position, it's relatively difficult for opponents to kind of take over because it has so much battle tricks. This deck list is really consistent and very strong with holding. Especially with the Dreaming Tree, you know, you get to draw a card every single time, and you're just digging and digging and digging, looking for answers. Against Lux, he plays a Lecturing Yordle. You know, good card. I think any type of blue deck should be playing that anyway. Back to my turn. You know, I have options with First Mate and Pit Rookie, so I believe I'm gonna move in there to the Dreaming Tree. I believe I do. Yep, so I do score my first point. Popping down Pit Rookie, I can buff, obviously, the one in the Dreaming Tree, so it becomes a 3, and then plus with the Master Yi's Legend ability gets 2. Pit Rookie with another thing on board into First Mate is really strong. First Mate can also win you games with double conquers and everything. Like, just, you know, it's a fair body, right? 3 runes for 3 might, and then being able to ready something so you can just go in and start holding positions, getting ahead on points, right? Because, like, the point of the deck, like, the thing is, like, Master Yi goes on, like, very early. Like, as soon as, like, turn 2 starts, and as soon as you can get a unit on a battlefield, like, you're pretty much online, and then you're just protecting and, you know, doing some battle tricks. There will be instances where, of course, your stuff gets removed. There are some really great spells in Singularity, which I think happens this game, and so forth. But, you know, there are cards like Sonia's Hourglass. You have some buffs. You can also play Primal Strength defensively, believe it or not. Sometimes when the opponent asks, like, do you have any actions after you moved into a battlefield, you know, and if you do have the extra runes, like, I would highly suggest, depending if you're playing against decks, for instance, like Kaisa or Lux or even Annie, right? They run a lot of burn spells, so you can use Primal Strength defensively just to give it +7 strength or +7 might to a unit, and then they're going to have to reconsider their game plan in terms of, like, what they're going to try and remove. Obviously, you know, like, it's more effective if you use it offensively because you know what you're going to get yourself into if there's a lot of might on a battlefield. But other than that, you know, don't be sleeping on Primal Strength. So he's going to move in here with his... can't really see. There you go. So he's targeting a Pit Rookie with Harnessed Dragon, I believe. I think in the future I'm going to zoom in a little bit more because it's kind of difficult for me to kind of see this from afar. I'm still testing out waters with Tabletop Simulator, and if commentating is the best way to go because the volume is just a little too low. But going back to the game, so I am still ahead 4 opposed to his 1 point. He does have some might on his base now. Lux is active, so remembering that's always going to give you 2, or your opponent rather, 2 runes just to tap at reaction speed. So you always have to take into consideration what cards they might be running and what cards have they used, what cards haven't they used. But luckily, I myself have big boys, and I decide in this case just to put out my Master Yi. It does come in ready, and it does have ganking, so it can fly around really easy. Another great combo is if you have First Mate in hand as well. You can ready it again and then gank over. You can pretty much conquer 2 battlefields with Master Yi just as long as you have a First Mate, which is like a really strong combo, very aggressive. Like I said, you know, you just want to get on a battlefield and then your deck is already online, like it's already doing things. So he decides to move in with a Lux and a Harnessed Dragon, which is weird because I was considering, I was like, okay, the Lux is kind of like the backbone of the deck, you know, to being able that access to those 2 extra resources and runes. However, it was pretty much like a smart move because battle tricks is something that he has to look out for, and obviously by him moving in with the Lux, it kind of mitigates a On Guard or a Discipline based off the resources that I had available to me. So that was a really good play on his end, even though it does he had to sacrifice his Lux, but you know, sometimes you just got to make those moves to try and win the game. So he'll score his point, and then he's going to be casting. Let's see. Not quite sure. It is another Harness Dragon. Okay, so yeah, he played another Harness Dragon. That's what happened. Yeah, so we have 2 Harness Dragons out on the field, and he just kills my Master Yi. Now, it's not looking too good for me right now. However, there are some plays that I had up my sleeve. I did a little misclicking there by putting things into my deck. However, basically, he had a really strong turn on his end, and the thing is, like, even though things get removed onto the battlefields, you can still very effectively come back with cards like you're going to see in this move right here. I decided to play my White Flame Protector. Exactly, tapping all those runes, and he's like, wait, hold on. What has what has that many runes available? Yeah, just the fact that you're developing a strong body, right, and then giving something +7 is insane. It's +7 or +8? I believe it's +7. So that goes to fight over by Obelisk of Power, the Harness Dragon. I get that point. And then, you know, there's something for him to worry about with the White Flame Protector also on the base, right? So that's, you know, essentially I buffed my unit, you know, making it a threat. It no longer becomes a threat. However, my threat is now on base, getting ready next turn. I have Defies to make sure that I can stop any type of smaller spells in terms of removal. So he's going to go in here and send his Harness Dragon to fight. Obviously, there's things I could do because of Master Yi, gets buffed, then on guard, it gets another +2 might. So I believe right here they cancel each other out at 6, 2, 4, 6. Yep. So they will both die, I believe. Yep. They both die. That's pretty much all he could do. Oh wait, do they both die? No. I think I had 1 might on top. Yeah, I had 1 might more. Yeah. I believe it was buffed. And then look, kind of like ready on his side. I looked at his side, what available resources they have. I do get a point holding, and then I can move in to conquer, and it's kind of just game from there. So, like I said, like really effective deck, you know, really consistent, very hard to deal with. Zonia's Hourglass, which I didn't actually play this game, is also like very, very troublesome for the opponent, because just when they're using their resources, anything that they have, or removal to get rid of the units, they just pop back with Zonia's Hourglass. Here's what I talk about. Like, I use Primal Strength defensively just in case he has like some type of bomb spell. Because he did ask, do I have any action? So I decided to commit into thinking it was going to be damage. However, he does move in with the Final Blow, I believe it is called, or Death Blow. And he gets rid of my White Flame Protector before I could conquer. So that was like the game-winning play. However, I still have a little trick up my sleeve, so I passed the turn, obviously. Wait, no, I do play, if I remember correctly, Clockwork Keeper, right? Just putting stuff on base to kind of make sure that I'll be able to, at least if I do hold, I can score and win the game that way. The thing with Lux is that once it gets going, it's very scary. The thing is with the power commitment to some of the cards are very high, so I think like considering like running seals on his end. But you know, this list is very good. The only thing I don't have established to it is a sideboard yet, because the meta is very volatile. But I'm just like loving Master Yi. I know it's going to be my main deck because it's just so consistent. So here's what I'm talking about with like First Mate being really good. So I do just play a bunch of stuff on base, and then I pass the turn over. Right now he's trying to figure out what he can do in response. And I think at this point he kind of knows that he has to do some tricks in order to kind of win the game. You know, it's just putting pressure on his side of what to do. And I think when he shows his, yeah, so he's all tapped, he's ready to go. He's just making some decisions, sorry guys, which is why I think commentating is a little better than just watching the raw gameplay, because there are just some moments of like long-lasting silence, which, you know, it's not fun to watch. I will zoom in the future. I'm gonna try and do more commentating on the actual games that I've played with the decks that I'm featuring. So bear with me, I will get better at this. So at this point, I'm just waiting for him to make his decisions. With Lux and any type of control decks, you know, there's so many outs that you could do. Or, you know, you're just really focusing on trying to manage your resources the best to your ability. So he's going to move in here with a Sprite Mother, which is really ridiculous, dude. I love Sprite Mother. Absolutely love it. You get so much value. The fact that, you know, the Sprite enters ready and you're developing a unit on board as well, really strong for its power cost. So he has the Sprite on board. He does score his point, right? Because that's just the way the card works. Then he's going to be playing Promising Future, the first time that I've ever had an interaction with that card. So basically, everybody looks at the top 5 cards of their deck, and we both pick one. Now, it's not that they have to wait per turn. You guys play it in one turn. So I'm looking for a card. What can I do? And usually it works in the favor of the one casting Promising Futures, because they just have more accessibility because they're spell heavy deck. For me, I had Charm, I had and Discipline. So I think I choose the Charm in this situation, mainly because I could just move the Sprite over, right? And because that'll make me be defending and I get the bonus, I'm gonna try and kill the Sprite, just so that I don't have any trouble trying to conquer the next turn. So we're just discussing the rules of like what order it goes in and everything, because Promising Futures was just like a little difficult to understand when it was first released. So I do cast the Charm, I move over the Sprite. This initiates a showdown. However, he gets to cast his spell now before it gets into anything, because Promising Futures has to resolve first. So I cast Charm. The showdown doesn't happen yet because he can cast Singularity, in which he targets my unit at Obelisk of Power and one of my Clockwork Keepers. So that's interesting because a Promising Future technically accelerates the speed of the card, right? Because normally a showdown would happen and then you wouldn't be able to play something like Singularity. But at that speed, because it comes after Charm, which I've played, but that doesn't matter because it overrides those rules. So it's a really weird card, right? But it's very, very good in control matchups. And sometimes, obviously, like the goal of Promising Future is to grab a Time Warp, right? Which is insane, so you can just get another turn. So he passes over to my turn. He has a really good Promising Future, honestly. He does get rid of my unit on base, so I can't hold. Then the showdown doesn't happen. And then, but at this point, I pretty much know that I pretty much have the game sealed. I'm just observing everything he has, what types of runes are open on his side, double checking everything, because I tend to mess up like on my game-winning plays like a lot. It's just the way I am. So I move over to the Dreaming Tree. He's all tapped out, so I pretty much can like have free roam of whatever I can do. There's many lines that I could have won this game with, but I decided to tap one. Or wait, no, I accidentally put that rune into my hand. Yep, I decided to Charm the Sprite over. That initiates a showdown, because if I were to move in my unit onto the Obelisk of Power, I would not be defending. This way I get the +2 from my Legends ability and Mastery E, and ensuring that I will take that point. Now, because I conquered, I cannot win, because I have 7 points already. I do get to draw a card, but then with First Mate, I kind of can just seal the game away. So Yeah, so I put in the first mate, and then I put in the second first mate, and first mate will move in, and there's the win. There's the 8th point. Yep, so really consistent. A lot of things you could do to conquer, double hold. It's just a really good deck, and I think it works well against all the other decks in the meta right now. Because it is very volatile. You know, like before, Set was really strong, and now we have like decks like Kaisa and a lot of control decks. So yeah, and that's the game. Yeah, so as you can see, you know, in a control matchup, Master Yi does very well. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Stay tuned for more Riftbound content, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace.